Furthermore, there is need to allocate a budget for strengthening the public extension system and recruiting more extension workers in areas of high need. And we have many. By doing so, the government is tasked to facilitate a phased recruitment and deployment of additional extension workers. Fisheries subsector. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, this Parliament has received petitions numerously about the government's mismanagement of the fisheries subsector. The Fish Moors and Traders Association of Uganda Limited is concerned about the excessive taxes, missing trade agreements, increasing brutality by security personnel, and human rights violations in the disguise of fighting illegal fishing. Even after this honorable house, this one, passed the Fisheries and Aquaculture Act of 2022 to manage the fisheries subsector in our country, human rights violations and torture are not accounted for in many of these operations on the lake by security agencies. Parliament has urged the Minister of Fisheries to introduce regulations for the Fisheries and Aquaculture Act of 2022 with no success. We also call for an investigation into atrocities committed by security personnel and for the perpetrators to be brought to justice and for the victims to be compensated. These are Ugandans trying to eke out a living. Honorable Speaker, we have challenges in our judicial system, in our justice system. It is plagued by chronic under-resourcing and inefficiency, leading to substantial delays in adjudicating cases. These delays have severely hindered the ability of the judiciary to provide timely and effective justice. For many Ugandans, the lack of affordable legal representation exacerbates the problem, resulting in stark disparities in access to justice. Those unable to afford lawyers often navigate the complex legal system without adequate support, which compromises their right to a fair trial. Judicial corruption is another significant issue undermining the justice system in Uganda, Right Honorable Speaker. Reports of judicial officers and court officials taking bribes to influence case outcomes are alarmingly uncommon. This corruption not only skews the administration of justice, but also erodes public confidence in the judiciary. For instance, individuals with financial means can often secure favorable verdicts through bribery. Even government officials have talked about this matter that I'm addressing, while those without such resources are left at a disadvantage. This pervasive corruption undermines the rule of law and perpetuates a sense of injustice among the populace. Honorable Speaker, resource constraints, slow case processing, and corruption prolong suspect pre-trial detention. This is why many accused persons unlawfully spend months or years in detention before trial. This violates due process and fair trial, since it impacts people, families, and communities. Honorable Speaker, our colleagues who just returned from jail, who were brutally arrested as they were going for a press conference, the Honorable Francis Zake, Honorable Tebandeke Charles, and Honorable Hassan Chirumira, told us of many inmates they found in police detention facilities here at CPS. People have been there for weeks. It is wrong. And we must be able to address these issues. The other example, we have so many National Unity Platform and other opposition supporters languishing in various detention centers on trumped-up charges. Secondly, including NRM. Secondly, there have been cases where suspects of minor offenses have been jailed for longer than the maximum sentence they would have received if convicted. This is indicative of a justice system that is not only slow, but also indifferent to the plight of the less privileged. Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the lack of timely and fair adjudication has fostered a culture of impunity in our country, where those with power and resources exploit the system to their advantage. Furthermore, the judiciary struggles with severe resource constraints, and these have manifested in various forms, such as inadequate court facilities, insufficient staff, limited access to legal databases, and other necessary tools to do their work. These shortcomings have occasioned the challenge of case backlog and overburdened judicial officers who are unable to keep pace with the volume of cases that require adjudication. According to the Justice, Law and Order Sector report, courts closed, and colleagues listen to this, courts closed with a pending caseload of 156,349 cases in 2021-2022, of which 42,960 were backlogged. This accounted for 27.48% of case backlog. it is problematic. These issues have been made worse by the absence of a strong legal aid system, which leaves the most vulnerable segments of society without access to legal assistance. The government should extend access to legal aid, enhance transparency and accountability, and increase financing of the judiciary. The justice system can only regain public confidence and maintain the rule of law by implementing such measures. Tourism, wildlife, and antiquities. Right Honorable Speaker, this sector is a significant source of foreign exchange for our country, and it boasts of high returns on investment. This sector is the most appropriate means to revive our struggling economy, and it should be given the necessary attention and support to raise funds for the protection and enjoyment of other basic rights. However, Right Honorable Speaker, it is unfortunate that the government of Uganda provides insufficient funding for this sector, despite its economic potential. In 2022, for instance, tourism-related revenue and foreign exchange earnings totaled 2.7 trillion shillings. Yet the sector's approved budget has been stagnating between 193 billion and 248 billion in the last 5 financial years. This is a very fertile sector, because if you can reap 2.7 trillion when you inject about 200 billion, that means when you inject more, you'll reap a lot more. It's equally important to note that there is historical and cultural heritage sites with over 650 cultural sites which are underserved and underdeveloped for tourism. We need to fix this. Let me run to education, Right Honorable Speaker. The education sector in Uganda is plagued by severe underfunding, leading to a multitude of challenges which significantly impede the delivery of quality education. We have got overcrowded classrooms, which are a common sight, with student-to-teacher ratios far exceeding recommended levels. For example, a recent validation exercise done by the Education Service Commission revealed that the country required an extra workforce of 78,880 primary school teachers to reach the intended target of maintaining a 1:40 teacher-pupil ratio at the basic level. This, however, is far from being achieved. Overcrowding has not only hampered effective teaching and learning, but has also put a strain on the few resources that we have available, such as textbooks, desks, and other essential supplies. Many schools, particularly in rural regions, lack appropriate infrastructure, including poor sanitation, which negatively impacts on the learning environment. And that is a sight in all our constituencies, Right Honorable Speaker. A major contributing factor to the aforementioned challenges is the chronic shortage of qualified teachers. In many schools, especially those in remote areas, there are not enough teachers to meet the needs of the student population. This shortage forces schools to either combine classes or employ unqualified personnel, both of which negatively impact the quality of education. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to skip a bit for want of time. I've talked about education and what I believe we need to do to fix it. Defense and Internal Affairs. The Ministry of Internal Affairs is entrenched in a mire of corruption and inefficiency, failing utterly in its mandate to provide effective policing and public safety services. The high crime rates, coupled with the pervasive lack of trust in law enforcement agencies, expose the ministry's glaring incompetence and systemic failure. The rampant corruption within the police force and other internal affairs departments is a cancer eating away at the very fabric of our society. Bribery and favoritism are not just occasional occurrences. They are the norm, unfortunately, and they severely undermine justice and security. There are widespread reports and incidents of excessive use of force, arbitrary arrests and torture. These abuses are often directed at political opponents and even ordinary citizens. For example, during political gatherings, the police routinely uses excessive force, including firing live ammunition and unnecessary tear gas, resulting in injuries and fatalities. Arbitrary arrests and detention are rampant, with individuals being held without trial, sometimes for extended periods. In a number of cases, what we see is abduction of citizens by plain-clothed, gun-wielding men who take these people to unknown places, and many have since been missing for years. For example, John Bosco Chibalama, who has been missing for over 4 years, yet the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Robin Anabanja, admitted that he was arrested by the state and he's in the hands of the state. Of late, the same is happening even to members of parliament. We saw what happened in the past to Honorable Segirinya, Honorable Sewanyana, and most recently to the Honorable Paul Akamba, who is one of us, who belongs to the NRM. But he was abducted, and for about 3 or so days, no one knew where he was. It is wrong, whether it happens to the opposition or to people from the ruling party. Right, Honorable Speaker, when these practices become normalized, because everyone gets to be a potential victim, that's what happens when we normalize them, as we are witnessing today. What's particularly disturbing, Right Honorable Speaker, is the abdication of duty by the Uganda Human Rights Commission, a body explicitly mandated to safeguard the rights of our citizens. This commission has shamelessly turned a blind eye to these atrocities, failing in its core responsibility to protect the vulnerable and uphold justice. This neglect not only emboldens the perpetrators, but also undermines the trust and faith of the people in our institutions that are meant to protect them. I want to skip a bit, Right Honorable Speaker, for want of time, and move to my conclusion. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable colleagues, the spirit under which we raise these issues is not just because we are only mandated to do so as per the legal and policy frameworks under which we operate, but to a wider margin. It is a nationalistic one, because the concerns I've raised, we see them where we come from. We see them among the people we lead, who keep calling us to fill in the gaps where government is meant to be taking action. When the country is sinking, Right Honorable Speaker, we cannot all just become spectators to cheerlead those who are steering our country to complete destruction, as per the examples that I have given. I see Honorable Magezi is mad. I have listed the examples, many of which are happening in the constituencies where we come from, including the one which you used to represent, because you don't represent it anymore, sir. Right Honorable Speaker, we must take a step forward to put up a spirited fight to redeem our country from those who hold power and they are irresponsibly using it contrary to the citizenry wishes and aspirations. As a government in waiting, because we shall continue to do whatever is possible within our reach to bring about a positive change aimed at restoring the original glory of our country. I therefore implore each one of us, Right Honorable Speaker, to reflect on these issues and act swiftly on them for the good of all of us and those who shall come after us. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Thank you.